Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tiny Blue Games. My name, of course, is Cesar Chris, and today we're talking about Wildstar. Yeah, that's right. Look at me go. This is like my legit favorite place in the entire game. Well, not specifically this little tiny map, but like being on the moon is just so much fun. Even without having to quest here or something like that, just come here to like jump around while I make videos sometimes. But let's get beyond that and talk about Wildstar and what we need to do to make the game a bit of a better place for everyone. Before we do that though, if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is Tiny Blue Games. We talk about different games, Wildstar, Overwatch, Guild Wars 2, really whatever I'm playing, and my thoughts on them. We're casual players, so no reason to feel like you have to be a hardcore player to listen to us. Get a bit of a different perspective from someone who doesn't play the game 24/7. That's what the channel's about. Do like and subscribe if you want some of that. If not, or if you have done that and just want to continue watching the video, let's begin. So the topic of today's video is, sure, Wildstar's not in a great place. And I know everyone's just gasping at me saying that, but it's true. The game has died a lot from when it was originally launched, and everyone thought it was going to kill WoW, and obviously that didn't happen. Big spoilers there. Now, the game went free to play, and it was on Steam, is still on Steam, and is doing all right. There's people in my chat box right now looking to do stuff, looking to do dungeons, looking to do different kinds of content. I could enter the queue system, and I could get into something eventually. The difficulty, though, is that there's only certain things that I can do and things that I will not be able to do whatsoever, even if, like, the only way I could do it is if I had guilds, really big guilds in the game, organize these specific events. And we'll talk about what those features are in a second here, but this brings us to the main point I want to discuss in this video. And that is how the game should change its direction to become really good at what it's good at. And I kind of talked a bit about that in my past video here where I'm talking about their addition to neighborhoods, and how I think that's a really good choice to actually work on their housing, because Wildstar is known to have one of the best housing systems, period. Even people who on YouTube and different forums keep on screaming, you know, Wildstar, dead game. They say Wildstar, dead game, and then say, P.S., really great housing though. Like, it's a joke, but pretty much everyone, even those who wanted Wildstar to die, agree that the housing was phenomenal. Now, there's other aspects to the game that they also agreed on, such as PvE content being dungeons, raids. The entire idea of how you play PvE classes and, you know, work together in this game was done extremely well, and it's received a lot of applause. So that's a really strong part of the game. Parts of the game that haven't shined really are, you know, player versus player. And we know it's not in a great state right now. You kind of have to queue at a specific time of day to really get into anything. And apart from, you know, certain battlegrounds, there's not much you can play. Don't even get me started about war plots, which were supposed to be, you know, the biggest thing in the entire world for how cool the game could be. I've played 2 war plots in my entire time on this game, and that was at least half a year back now, and it was, you know, largely because a guild organized it to happen. It wasn't an organic queued for war plot kind of scenario. So it's not going great for them. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that Wildstar has a lot of different features and way to play the game. And I think that they actually have too many different ways to play the game for how few developers they had. Now, Wildstar is a theme park MMO, and they're supposed to have different ways of playing the game, different ways to experience content, different content. And they were very ambitious when they started because they thought they were going to be the, WoW killer. They were going to have tons of developers that could make all these different types of content. They'd have tons of players, some of which that could be interested in housing, some of which were interested in raiding and dungeons, and some that were interested in PvP, some interested in just open world and story stuff. But we don't have the developers for that. We don't have the players for that. So maybe instead of just continuing that big ass ship that, you know, must take a ton of time to develop stuff for, why don't we start trimming some of the fat? And the suggestion I'm about to make is scary. It's very severe, and people will be upset because some of the people do play these types of gameplay or hope that these types of gameplay will be very important in the future, people will come back, but they might not. And maybe it's better for the game to just be really good at a few things so people can experience it and experience those things. So what am I talking about? Well, let's, go to our queue finder, our content finder, if you will. There's a lot of things going on here. We've got expeditions, adventures, dungeons. We've got PvP, where we have battlegrounds, war plots, arenas. We've got world story. There's a crap ton of different things to do. I think there's too many. And right now, I'm going to lay out which ones I think should... I don't want them to remove any current content from the game, and I'm not solving the problem specifically. I'm not telling them how they should transfer or transform the game. All I'm saying is that there's a few things here that I'm going to list that should maybe, not have developer time and just be paused for a while until the game gets better. And then certain areas should receive those developers and start really pumping out some content. So what can we talk about? Things that I think could be removed. Let's start with PvE. So dungeons are exceptional. Dungeons are excellent. They've just added the primal system, which is great. I think dungeons are an excellent and staple of many, many games. For instance, we know Guild Wars 2 removed dungeons. Well, they didn't remove them, but they said they were going to stop working on dungeons. This had people kind of backlash because the idea of a dungeon is the most important part of their MMO experience. In Guild Wars 2, there's these things called Fractals of the Mists. They're 5-player content that deliver a story in about 20 to 30 minutes. So they're almost like dungeons. I'm not going to say that people are being kind of crazy, but aside from the fact that they're not called dungeons, they're pretty much dungeons. And even then, removing dungeons caused people to be pretty upset. So I think dungeons for sure should be in the game still. That's obvious. Raids also should be in the game. Wildstar is known for having some of the best raids ever. They should continue making them, and they should make lots more of them. The game will thrive. Now, a bit of a sticky situation is with expeditions and adventures. These are both, in my books, entry-level content to PvE. And I guess the big difference is that adventures are 5-person things, whereas expeditions can take up to 5 people or can be single-player things. So I'd say expeditions are a bit more versatile, where adventures are not. I feel like they're not both required, and having just one of them would allow a lot more of that certain type of content to be created. In my opinion, and this might get people mad, so if you are mad, say so in the comments. Let me know why I'm stupid. I think they should get rid of or stop producing adventures. And to be honest, they haven't produced any adventures in a long time. So that's not such a crazy thing to say, but I think they should make it official that adventures are going to be more of an expedition thing. And perhaps they could even sort of change or alter the adventures that are already in the game to work as expeditions, where you could play them with 5 people still, but hey, you could also play them with just 1 person. I think that's a change that should happen. It should be expeditions, dungeons, and then raids. I think expeditions are the more unique and easier way to deliver story for the game, and I think that makes it a lot more interesting. Now, what else? They need to start working on world story. It's really sad how little I know of Nexus and how interesting the story of Nexus is and was. These trailers alluding to great mysteries, Darissa, the entity, there's so much there that could be talked about. It just isn't. And I think a lot of the people who are still in the game care about the story because they care about Wildstar, and because of that, we should really focus on the story. So that's something I think needs to be worked on. Now, the last bit that I'm going to talk about, and this is the really, really sore point, is PvP. PvP did not fly well in Wildstar. I could do a whole video of why I think it didn't fly well, despite them having a very unique and good combat system. Maybe it's something to do with the telegraphs and how many people there are. I don't know. We could talk about that in another video. I promise you another video. There you go. A promise from me. That's something. You can hold on to that. I never just leave YouTube for no reasons. What do I think's wrong with PvP? There's for sure too many ways to play PvP for how many people play PvP. War plots should be discontinued. I'm sorry, for how few people play it. Like, they should keep the one war plot in. Keep it how it is right now, because that's not going to really affect them very much. But just move any developers, which I doubt there were any on war plots, officially move them to something else. Arenas. I love arenas. And I love battlegrounds, actually. I think they're both very fun. Battlegrounds currently are played more. However, arenas might actually be better just based on how few people are needed to make them work. I think only one of them should continue to have developer time, which I know is going to hurt. And that's if I will. Okay, let's back up here and let's really make some people scared for a second. My original thought was, let's stop working on PvP completely. Let's focus on PvE, so dungeons and raids and expeditions, world story, questing, new zones, housing. That's what Wildstar does well. Let's focus on that. That might be the way to go. It's very extreme, though, to say that no more PvP, especially to those who, have been doing PvP seasons, are very passionate about the PvP. So I don't know if that's the best way to go. My second alternative here is we keep PvP, but we just do one specific type of game mode. And I think I would have to go with it actually being arenas, which is interesting considering I'd say battlegrounds are played more right now. But if they switched it well, they could have arenas working a lot more and have a lot faster queue times. Now, the issue being that certain people could be much different gear and much different skill level, whatever. But that happens in battlegrounds too. I think the biggest thing people want from PvP is the ability to play PvP. So I say you do arenas. You put like new arena maps, and I'm not a developer, so don't don't think that I'm like some sort of person who knows everything about how to develop a game. But making just new arena maps that look aesthetically different isn't a huge demand. Like, they don't even have to change up how they work. Just change up where they are in the world and have people kill each other in them. That's all you have to do. Whereas battlegrounds, you have to think about, okay, how is capture the flag going to work? How is this capture point going to work? There's a lot more going into it. I think it needs to be about arenas. And I think that's what the PvP scene should be about. Now, you could keep everything in here. You could keep everything in here for all of them. The issue with it is if you don't sort to like change it so that the adventures become expeditions, so that the battleground maps become new arena maps, is that it's very confusing for new players who enter the game. And that's a whole discussion for itself. This video has gone on long enough. It's been kind of ranty and kind of dark, but hopeful in a way, because I think that I think Wildstar is doing okay right now as a very niche game. I'm just suggesting ways that it could really come back and be quite strong, and some very radical changes. But I think it's at the point now. It's been a few years that Wildstar has been struggling. We need a radical change. We need to change this up. Anyways, that's all I want to share in this video. Once again, if you like Wildstar, if you like gameplay content of any of the other games I'd mentioned we play, please be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. It means the world to us. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.